And we are live. Howdy, folks. How's everybody doing tonight? This is going to be an interesting show. Well, last week after the show we did with G Webs, we had talked a little about 9/11, and Clayton posted in a lobby chat after the fact that he would like to see a show to find out what we were all doing, what we were thinking around that time. And 9/11 was a life changer for everybody. We all have our own stories. We all have our own memories of that day. And for those of us old enough to have lived through it, it was quite literally a very eye opening experience. And we come to the realization that America is not as untouchable as we thought it was at that point in time. So I should have more guests coming in later. I'm expecting more. But for right now, we have Dano. Dano, what you got to say, buddy?
Yep. Thanks for giving me an invite to come on over, share the little bit I got.
And looks like Ghost is here with me. What's going on, Ghost?
What's going on, Alice? Thanks for having me.
Buddy, it wouldn't be this type of show without you. And we have Jimmy James. What's going on, Jimmy?
Fashionably late. That's what I like to say.
Fashionably late. Yeah. Well, better late than never. And of course, the one that strikes at night is here.
Hey, everyone.
So, we're going to discuss 9/11. We're going to talk about how it affected us, how it affected our lives, and see where things go. Like I said, there should be more people coming in as we go along. So let's see what happens. Ghost, what do you remember about 9/11? What stands out to you?
That day? That'd be a good place to start.
Yeah, that day.
All right, so I've actually got an interesting story.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. So my wife and daughter, I understand that my daughter is 4 years old at the time, and they had spent the last 2 or 3 weeks over in Japan, where my wife's from, visiting family and all that. Ironically, two things happened on September 11th. One, it's my sister-in-law's birthday, my wife's sister. Secondly, that was a day that my wife and daughter were flying home from Japan. Supposed to land 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So not a big deal. I'll wake up, and wait around until our flight comes in. Well, my phone rings, obviously, and it's early. And it's my father-in-law. Now, my father-in-law is in Japan. And so his English is very broken. All right. So he says hello, and I'm thinking, okay, they missed their flight, or he's just calling to check and see if I've heard from him. Whatever. I'm just waking up, and he calls, and obviously I can tell it's him, and he's like, New York's on fire. Now, understand that his English isn't great, so I'm thinking either I'm misunderstanding this or I don't understand what he's trying to say. So I'm like, and I had just woken up, so I'm like, what? And he goes, New York on fire. And I'm like, what the hell? So I turn the TV on and I see the first tower. And so obviously he's freaking out because his daughter and granddaughter are flying over, coming home. So they've obviously grounded all flights that are domestically getting ready to take off and all of that. So I'm trying to figure out what's going on with my family. So I'm calling American Airlines, and they obviously, for security reasons, can't give us any information whatsoever. None. So this goes on for 8, 9, 10 hours probably. It's later on that night. Finally, my phone rings. It's my wife. So I said, "Where the hell are you?" And she goes, "Well, we're in Vancouver." And I was like, "Well, how long you been there?" And she goes, "Oh, most of the day." I'm like, "What? You know what's going on?" She's like, "Oh yeah." And I said, "Why the hell didn't you call?" And she goes, "Do you know how many people are waiting in line for like 2 phones to call their family?" And I said, "Okay." I said, "Is there only 2 phones in Vancouver?" Blah, 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 blah. So she tells me that she and my 4-year-old daughter had spent the entire day shopping in Vancouver. Instead of looking for a phone to let their dad and husband know that they're okay, they spent the day shopping in Vancouver. I think they spent, what, 2 or 3 days, 3 days, I think, in Vancouver before they finally made it home. But yeah, that was interesting that, that's how my day went.
Low man on the totem pole.
Oh, yeah. They could give a damn if they wanted to tell me they were okay.
Yeah. And while you're sitting home worried sick.
Yeah. I mean, I'm calling. We finally heard that they were going to be rerouted to Vancouver, but that's all they gave us. So we were calling like every single hotel possible in Vancouver, and no one could tell me, And I'm sorry, what? Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah, my wife's actually here, so she's kind of telling me the details. And the flight number was actually changed, and so it was different than what I had originally been given. And I don't know if that was for security reasons or what. They changed all flights that couldn't be grounded. They changed all flight numbers midair, so no one could, for security reasons, obviously. So I'm trying to give them this flight number, and it doesn't exist anymore. They've rerouted. It was a nightmare. It was an absolute nightmare. But my day was a lot better than others, obviously.
So where were you at that time geographically, and did you notice anything different, whether it be in your drive home or what you saw around you?
Oh yeah, I mean, I was in Arkansas. Just moved to Arkansas, and didn't really know a whole lot of people, but I just moved here. But I mean, it's one of those things where I'm sure it was just here, just like everybody else. You go to Walmart, you go to the grocery store, you go wherever, and I mean, everyone's either crying. But I mean, I think that we were probably there for several months. We were probably the most polite country in the world to each other. Um, Everyone was trying to help out. I saw more American flags flying on cars and up in front lawns. And I mean, I think that's everywhere, though. I mean, it was pretty cool because I was still inside the 5 years from when I got out of the Marine Corps. So technically, I could still be called up. And so that was another thing that I'm trying to figure out. I'm trying to get a hold of different people that I knew that were still in. I said, hey, they plan on calling me back and all that. And they didn't know at the time. So it was really an interesting time at that point.
Now, were you still in the Marines at that point?
No, I got out in 98, but see, with my clearance and everything that I did, I had 5 years that they could call me back. And so I got out in 98, so I was still within that 5-year window technically, that if they needed to or wanted to, they could call me back. But it went for probably about 3, I don't know, maybe 6 months that we really. After about 6 months, I figured they ain't gonna do it. But at least the first 3 months, yeah, I wasn't real sure what was gonna go on.
Yeah. Was you actually expecting that phone call?
What's that now?
Was you actually expecting to get that phone call?
Yeah, I kind of was, because the unit that I was with was an intelligence group as far as our battalion and all that. And so, yeah, I mean, I figured, and Camp Pendleton is kind of usually designated because most of the training we do is more desert stuff because of California. So typically, if you go to the Middle East and all that, that's kind of, I mean, yeah. So I figured that I didn't know. I figured there was a chance, but I don't know. I mean, it's just one of those things where there was a part of me that wanted to. There was another part of me that said it's going to get really ugly when we go over there, and obviously it did. But yeah, it was. I don't know. It was a weird time because you have the patriot and the you know nationalistic side of you that says hell yeah, let me go kill these fools, and the second side of you is I did my time, I got out, I saw some shit. Now it's time to be my family, and I don't want to go back. So it was just one of those things. It was kind of a strange dynamic for sure.
Mm. Well, what about you, Dano? What was going on with you that day?
Well, let's see. I was working in the. I did IT work at the time, and quite commonly, if you have a small IT department or you're a department of one, which is what I was at, I was always shoved with the accounting group. So I was in the basement of a building with the accounting group, and one of the guys had heard something on the radio. So he had a little old, little 9-inch tube TV that he got out of the trunk of his car and put it up next to his workstation, was able to get a local signal to find out what was going on, because we just couldn't play a radio to figure out what was going on, because that was just local stuff. And then of course they were playing at that time. The first plane had already struck, and so they were doing the replays, and then the conjecture what was, in essence, nobody knew what the hell was going on, which means anything could be going on. Meaning this is just the beginning of many more attacks all over the country, or this is the beginning and end of it. We just didn't know. And the fact that we didn't know actually made it a little bit worse that day and in the coming days until we actually figured out what it was. That created a lot of fear that didn't necessarily need to be there, but that's a byproduct of every disaster, I think, to one degree or another. And I remember also seeing, I just happened to be the guy who had the little TV, a little black and white, was one cubicle right next to mine, and mine was kind of an open cubicle. So from my seat, I could see the TV. And I remember seeing the building next to it, all of a sudden, out of the corner of my eye, all of a sudden go on fire. And I didn't realize it, because then they started putting it in loops. But all of a sudden, I went from one fire to two fires. So I actually did see the second plane hit via the TV camera, which was kind of a dumbfounding moment, where you just sit there with your jaw partially open and a dull look on your face, thinking, is what I think just happened? Did that really happen? And until somebody speaks and actually confirms it, is this something else? Are they showing some other disaster? You're thinking, no, that this couldn't be, not two places in the same day. And then they start reporting about other airplanes striking or possibly striking. There's rumors that there's something going on at the Pentagon, and there's rumors about something in Pennsylvania, but we aren't getting specifics. So all this random partial information is just creating even greater fear and greater conjecture as to what may or may not be possibly going on, which just raises the level of fear in everyone, from this is the beginning of the end to this is just a one-time thing, and everything in between.
Yeah, because I remember when the first plane hit, I mean, everyone's thought was plane malfunction and all that. Everyone was like, oh, this is crazy, And when the second plane hit, it turned to a very, very dark thought of, oh my God, we're under attack. But for there about half an hour, we were like, that's crazy. How could a plane fly into a building? That must have been some weird, computer malfunction or something. That's what everyone was thinking.
They were talking about two previous incidents. One was where a Cessna-sized aircraft flew into an aircraft earlier that decade, and then back in, I think it was like 1925 or something like that, where a larger plane had flown into the Empire State Building. Of course, that was the last all iron building to be built, was the Empire State. Now, ever since then, they used more modern construction techniques. But on my way home that night, I decided not to take my main route home because I knew that if a lot of people were either leaving work home early because I live in a rural area, that it would get backed up and congested very, very quickly. So I took a rural route, which initially took me right by the airport. And the airport is for a town of 150,000 people. So you would think as well, it's just a little rinky-dinky airport. But it also houses the second largest UPS distribution center in the United States, out in the middle of nowhere. So it can handle the largest planes that are available, including the military planes. And I was dumbfounded is the best way to describe it when I looked out at the tarmacs, and not only just the normal places where they typically park, planes. On the runways themselves, the routes that they take to get up to the runways were parked double and triple deep. Every type of aircraft you have ever possibly imagined. You could have a jumbo jet right next to a Cessna, right next to a business jet, next to 3 more mid-size jets, next to another jumbo jet, next to some foreign national jet. I mean, they were parked in. There were literally there had to be at least 500 jets parked, and there was only one runway open for emergency purposes, because they had, when they grounded every plane in the United States, they had to go to the closest airport that could handle them. And because of the size of the runways of this particular airport where I live nearby, that's where a lot of the jumbo jets went that could not get to O'Hare International, which is Chicago, or Midway, which is another secondary airport to Chicago. So everybody in the Midwest came to Rockford. But it was, it's hard to describe without a picture what it looks like when you see the normal area where they park planes filled to capacity, the little taxiways filled triple deep to capacity, and then several of the runways closed down and used as parking lots for planes filled to capacity. It really broadened my mind that it helped put in scope how wide this event was.
Well, remember, this event wasn't just localized in New York. It was also, we also had, there was also a plane that crashed at the Pentagon. There was also a week after there was the anthrax scare in the mail, which they were able to link to the hijackers that crashed the planes in New York. So they were trying to get us on all sides.
It's a scary thought, really, that even back then, that this kind of thing could have actually happened. Yeah, I was dumbfounded. I mean, I was in a state of shock for pretty much the whole day. Ladies and gentlemen, Dead Horse has just arrived. How you doing, Dead Horse?
Howdy.
Dead Horse, what was your experience on 9/11?
Oh gosh, I remember getting ready for work that morning, and then finding out that the first plane had hit the tower. And I just remember watching it on TV, and watching live on TV as the second plane hit. And I knew right then, like, it wasn't an accident, just like most other people did, that, oh wow, like, something's going on. We're under attack. And I ended up going to work after the second plane hit, got to work. My boss was there watching TV. And he said, "Do you know what's going on?" I said, "Yeah." He's like, "Do you know what this means?" And I said, "What?" And he said, "War." We're going to war. And I was like, "Yeah, you're right. We're gonna go kick someone's ass for this." And then I remember taking that whole day off of work, going back home, and just pretty much watching TV the rest of the day, and then finding out about the Pentagon and Flight 93, and 4 planes. And then I remember worrying about the other cities, like other places, like, I thought for sure, like, Los Angeles and like some other large cities, Miami and stuff, would be targets of this stuff. But so pretty much, I just remember sitting around that whole entire day and evening waiting for like more attacks to come out on the over the news, because I didn't think it was going to stop at those 4 planes. I thought there was going to be more.
Well, there was technically. You know, there's the whole anthrax in the mail.
No, I don't even remember about that. I don't even remember about the anthrax.
It happened the week right after. And apparently they were able to find traces of anthrax in the plane wreckage as well. So
Really? There was traces of anthrax on the plane?
yeah.
Oh wow, I never even heard that.
Neither have I. Is that factual or?
Yeah, I've not heard that before.
That's what I remember from watching the TV back then. Because I was watching TV that entire day and nothing else. I did not get any homework done that day. I was in my last year of high school.
I was in high school too. I remember they wheeled out the TV, and then after the second plane hit, they let us out of school.
So, what was your thoughts, Jimmy? At that age.
I kind of was of the same thoughts that Dead Horse was just saying. I thought there was going to be. I thought it was going to be full on, like invasion style. So I was just waiting for it. I mean, like I said, I was a kid in high school, so didn't really have any provisions or anything like that. So I mean, yeah, I was just waiting on. I guess for lack of better terms, shit to hit the fan.
And it most definitely did hit the fan.
Oh yeah.
And has not stopped.
Well, technically, shit didn't hit the fan. The fan fell into the shit, technically.
One thing I remember.
The thing I always feel obligated to remind people is that this is still going on to this day on some mountain in Afghanistan. There's some soldier or Marine out there still fighting the result of what happened.
Yeah, well, this is not something that's going to be resolved anytime soon. As soon as
I'm sure the $3 trillion vein of lithium in Afghanistan we found. I'm sure that has nothing to do with why we're still there, though.
Right.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. We knew going into this that it was not going to be short, but I don't think any of us actually thought it was going to be this long. But, as soon as we take care of one terrorist organization, there's another one that pops up to take its place. And, they're all part of the same major group, but they've now divided amongst themselves into smaller little groups here and there. So, you can't fight a radical idea. And that's what we're fighting, is a war on an idea, an ideology. And,
there were many of us, though, that thought that we had finally learned the lessons of Vietnam. And granted, that was a different war at a different time, but that you cannot allow yourself to get sucked in and bogged down in some place with no exit strategy. From the beginning, having an exit strategy.
There is one difference between what happened after 9/11 and Vietnam. Unlike in Vietnam, where all the reporters and everybody was against the entire war, not everyone was against the whole going after Iraq with the media.
Don't confuse the two. Iraq had nothing to do with 9/11.
Oh, I know. They had nothing to do with it. Neither did Afghanistan, but, we had to blame someone, right?
Oh, no. We blamed Afghanistan, rightfully so, because they're the ones who trained the organization that trained the people that bombed the buildings. And went down in New York.
And what about blaming who paid for that, though? Saudi Arabia, the Bin Laden. Yes. Saudi Arabia, right. There's evidence. Even senators and governors and shit have come out and said Saudi Arabia was behind it. There's conclusive evidence. We have the evidence. Like, that information's out there. Like, everyone knows that Saudi Arabia is fucking guilty. But what do?
Rightfully
buy more oil from them.
Almost by itself, but you're right. I don't disagree with you at all.
What would have happened to Japan after they did Pearl Harbor if we said, you know what, we're not going to attack you. Instead, we're just going to buy more of your electronics at a higher price.
But
that's exactly what happened with Saudi Arabia.
Well, what you're asking is how many layers deep in the onion do you want to go? How many people are you willing to lose to dig that deep?
I'm just saying, like, I still to this day I think Saudi Arabia should have been turned into a ground zero ocean because they were behind 9/11. That's all there is to it. Israel even warned us.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with their role in it at all. I'm just saying that there's a price that we will pay regardless of what the final outcome is.
What I remember a lot about 9/11, watching the news that whole day, was them interviewing people who were like telling us that the lobby on the bottom ground floor exploded, that there was bombs underneath the building and the parking garages that exploded. And these people were like covered in blood and dust and were obviously in some sort of shit, right? And they're telling us that all this stuff's going on. Like there was other bombs, there was other stuff. And gee, is that on the news like anymore? Like did the NIST report cover it? No, all that just went away.
Okay.
No, the planes by themselves brought down the building.
Let's try to stay away from the whole conspiracy theories stuff. That's not what this is about. We can do a show on that later. I have no problem with that, actually, because I find those theories to be quite interesting. But what I do want to do is tell you my experience for 9/11. And let me start off by saying the night before, I had been out to all hours playing darts with some friends of mine, and we were having a blast. Life was good, life was great. We had no thoughts of anything ever terrible happening to the United States at that point in time. Fast forward, it's a little after 9 o'clock in the morning. I'm asleep. My door is busted open, and my mother runs in, and she's got tears in her eyes. She's shaking, and the first words out of her mouth were, "We've been bombed." Now I'm just waking up, no coffee, no nothing, and the first thought pops through my head, oh, dear God, we've been nuked. Some idiot has hit us with a nuclear weapon. And grant you, that's not what happened at all, but that's where my mind instantly went when she said, "We've been attacked, we've been bombed." So I get up, I run to the living room, turn the television on, and the first thing I see is the first plane after the impact of the first plane and the smoke and this and that. And then the second plane comes in, and I'm like, this was no accident. You're right. We've been attacked. Not long after that, we started getting the reports of the plane that hit the Pentagon, and I'm sitting here, I'm staring at television in a state of shock. I've got family all over the United States. New York's been hit, Washington's been hit. Where's the next one going? Is there a next one? And for the next few hours, I was glued to the television, much like probably 85% of the rest of the country, trying to figure out and work out in my own mind, okay, what happens now? Where do we go from here? How are we going to deal with this as a country? You get the phone calls from friends, from family. Hey, look, are you watching the news? Have you seen what's going on? Do you know what's happening? Well, we're going to war. Everybody knew that, the United States is not going to take this line down. Everybody knew that there was going to be repercussions. We didn't know what they were going to be at that point, but we knew they were coming.
Hey, can I interrupt this real quick?
Yeah.
Are you familiar with what happened in New York not too long ago?
What's that?
Apparently 8 are dead after terrorists driving a Home Depot truck rips through Lower Manhattan bike lane and runs over The driver was yelling Allah Akbar, Arabic for God is great, after running riders down from behind. Their mangled bodies left scattered behind its runaway white pickup. 29-year-old suspect was described as Middle Eastern, was arrested after a hero police officer shot him in the right hip following a crash between the truck and a school bus. 8 people were killed not too long ago in New York.
Just
and when
today.
was this?
That's like recently, like in the last half hour in New York City.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Ellis, this might not have been their best day
Oh
to
well,
do this.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, you know, I can't control what some idiot in New York does who's worships a god that thinks that it's okay to,
Kill
you know,
people.
kill homosexuals and, you know,
No.
rape
It's throw
women
them
and,
off the top of buildings.
well, it still kills them.
Well, yes.
You know, can we say they're fucking idiots and just leave
It
it at
does
that?
illustrate the world that our country has become since. That's what it does illustrate.
Well,
This is an ongoing problem, whether it's on the East Coast or the West Coast.
Yep. But since he
Somewhere in
did this,
between.
those antis are going to go and say that we need to ban cars because they can be used to kill people, right?
you know,
Just
or
saying.
airplanes, or
Just
airplanes.
saying. Or airplanes,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
helicopters, or anything that has an engine with it.
I am going to send out a couple more links and see if we can get some more perspectives in here. So,
I'm
let's
sorry, I
see.
just had to say that because I thought
Oh
that was
well,
But you know,
we would not expect anything less from you, Night Strike.
we've
We love you.
always had homegrown terrorism. It hasn't. The difference is it always hasn't had a religious bias to it.
I mean, there's Timothy McVeigh, the Unabomber. You know,
Yeah.
we've been here at home where we're crazy people, nut jobs have done things to others because, you know, they're either afraid of the government or afraid of the government getting them or whatever the reason. It's happened, and it hasn't been religious.
But it's going to continue to happen, and it's not going to stop.
No, it's never going to stop, dude.
I mean, because it was here already. It was under a different guise. It had a different face to it.
But you know, the thing about it is how what is the solution to the problem? How is this solved?
Here's the thing that I tell people, especially back then, because I've been over there in that mindset of different people towards America. And here's the thing, unfortunately, there is no way to get past it. You're talking about countries and religious and feelings that have been going on for literally thousands of years. The biggest problem we're going to have with radical Islam is that you cannot defeat an enemy that doesn't care if they die. You know, our morals tell us it's wrong to kill innocent people. Their mindset says the more the merrier because I'll be rewarded by Allah in heaven. It's going to be extremely difficult to defeat an enemy that does not care if they die, and when they die, they're going to take as many with them as possible. And that sounds bad, but that's reality, guys. And there's no way that we're going to change Islam. There's no way we're going to change an entire region of the world to sing Kumbaya with the Western world. It's not going to happen.
Well, there is a correlation between what you just said and kamikazes. Except we were fortunate that there numerically were not that many kamikazes. But what you're saying is exactly correct. It is once that individual takes on that mindset, whether it be to his emperor or to his prophet, the mindset has been taken. He will complete it if he truly believes it.
That's true. I mean, they believe they're doing this for a higher power and for a bigger reason, not just murdering innocent people. They truly believe this is for the greater good of their people. That's difficult to defend.
And you know,
And what did we have to do to Japan because they had that mindset? Right? Did we do a ground war? Did we invade them? No.
No,
We created hell and fire that the world has never seen before.
and has never seen since.
And we should have done the same after 9/11.
Well, see, here's the thing: the thinking of the country at that point was, okay, we know we've got to get who was responsible, but there's a lot of innocent lives there. Do we really want to take out the innocents to get the guilty? You know, does that make any sense?
The problem is sometimes the innocents are the one in that area of the world. Sometimes the innocents shield the guilty.
This is true.
And the problem is sometimes they know they're doing it and sometimes they don't know they're doing it. But we can't hold those who don't know they're doing it responsible. And that gets into the problem of unnecessary casualties and all that kind of shit.
When your opponent does not have a problem with genocide, but we collectively do have a problem with genocide, that's going to put us at a major disadvantage.
Clover Tech just made a good point. They're not idiots. They are warped and evil, and you're right, they are both. Evil does exist, ladies and gentlemen, and you want proof? Look in the Middle East. Look at what these people are doing to their own people. Not us. It's what they do to the captured Americans, captured soldiers is horrible. What they do to their own people is beyond evil. A woman gets raped, not her fault, they stone her to death. In what mindset does that make any kind of sense? Instead of punishing the guy that rapes her, you're killing the woman. And this is the people that the left are defending. They want us to accept as normal. No, I can't see it. Ghost, what's your take?
On which part? I mean, there's 17 different things going around.
Yeah, I know. Well, the mindset behind, okay, let's accept these people.
Accept terrorists or Middle Eastern people or who?
Well,
Muslims.
The
Muslims in general?
The Muslims in general. Well, we have to accept Muslims. And we have a constitution that gives even Muslims the right to their religion. But that constitution does not give them the right to maim people. It does not give them the right to force their religion onto others.
Okay, I would say that you have to treat, if we're talking militant Islam, is that what you're talking about?
Yep.
I think you would have to sit there and treat them just like you would the KKK. The KKK, in all intents and purposes, is the same as a malicious Islam sect. You're talking about people that are killing people, maybe not today, but historically have killed people, maimed people in the name of their religion and their beliefs. You're looking at, I think every religion, regardless of what it is, can go back through history and find a sect that is out there killing in the name of God. We had a century full of crusades that were based on religion. So, I think it's very difficult for me to sit here and say I hate militant Islams. Well, I do, obviously, but I also hate militant people in general that hide behind a religion or a belief. If you're a murderous kind of a person, then just call a spade and say, I'm a crazy freaker that wants to come and kill you in your way of thinking, but don't hide behind religion. Just say, I'm a terrorist and I'm here to kill you. Regardless if you're Islam, if you're a KKK, if you're anyone and everyone. If you are what you are, which is a terroristic person who's trying to hurt and kill other people, then quit hiding behind a religion and just call yourself what you are, a crazy fucker that wants to kill people. Period. That's just my opinion.
If I can jump in for a moment.
I'm done. Yeah, go for it.
Okay. You're first of all, you're absolutely right, Ghost. Many religions have gone through a period of utter doing the opposite of what they preach, but most of those have evolved out of that pattern and seeing that's not the direction that they're supposed to go. Okay. Islam is the only religion I'm aware of, and there may be exceptions, and when I'm done, feel free to mention what they are, where have gone through that exact same period, like Christianity has, but have never evolved out of that way of thinking, and still today, regardless of the sect, still believe in non-tolerance of others and how they are to treat others that are not Islamic in the form of death. That is the difference, non-tolerance of others.
Well, sure.
And their disposition.
But what you have to understand is that not every, and I'm not trying to defend Islam and the Muslim people. It doesn't bother me that they're Muslim. It's whatever. A religion's a religion, a way of life. I mean, Buddhism is a way of life, and some people think that it's religion, but it's not. It's a way of life. But people make fun of Buddhists all the time. Well, I don't care what you are, how you whatever you want to do. I'm not the most religious person in the world, so it really doesn't bother me what you want to do. But what I have a problem with, and this is just me in general, is I have a big problem with not just us, but everyone, the media. I mean, it's not just America putting a blanket statement over what we think Islam is, because I would be willing to bet that there are Muslims out there that are incredibly offended by what these terroristic sects do.
But we know what the Quran says, and if that's the book they're going to use, and they're going to say it is truth in its entirety, and it references over 119 times how non-believers are to be treated, we have to assume they're being honest with us and they believe in that.
No, and we can also take the opposite stance, Dano. There's a word in the Quran that's called al-Tariq, I believe. I'm not sure if that's exactly how you say it, but that's how it looks like you're supposed to say it. It's called al-Tariq. And basically it teaches them that they're allowed to lie. They're allowed to say things like, "Oh, I hate Muhammad. I'm not Muslim. I'm not part of Islam. I renounce all that." They can even say, "I'm Christian." They can totally lie as long as it benefits Allah in the end, right? So they can gain the trust of the infidels to infiltrate them and betray them from within. This is all explained in the Quran, how they're allowed to do this, right? So, when you talk about vetting people and stuff like that coming into this country and they're asking them questions, are you a terrorist? Well, their faith lets them lie. When they say, are you Muslim? Their faith lets them lie.
Correct.
So they teach that, and that's taught in the Quran. So keep that in mind, that they're totally allowed to lie. That's not one of their 10 commandments. Thou shalt not lie.
So,
yeah.
I mean, if I wanted to lie my way through everything too, that's sure great. I could do that. But the issue is, I like to be honest, because honesty is the best policy. And while I know that's a saying as opposed to being written down in a book, the issue is wine will get you further than vinegar.
And I'm going to preface this, Dano, by saying that what I'm getting ready to say is not necessarily how I feel. I'm playing devil's advocate here to spark discussion, okay? So take that for what it's worth.
Gotcha.
If you're going to use the Quran as the basis and the formula as to why some Muslims act out because it's a book tells them that it's okay and all of this, I'm not the most religious person in the world, but I do know there's an Old Testament to the Bible as well. And the Old Testament is full of not so many things that are good. And there was a cleansing, quote unquote, of the sinners. The problem you're going to have with the Quran which I think is the issue, is there has never been a quote unquote cleansing through their religion. It's actually ever evolving. And so we don't know what direction the Quran will take the next step of Muslims, because they're interpreting the Quran so many different ways these days that the answer is no matter what we do to combat terrorists and militant Islam, there's no way, because they will figure out a way to reinterpret the Quran in a different way once we've stopped another one. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we do know what you're saying.
They're also using the Quran as a training tool to brainwash children,
Correct.
though.
That's
You know,
correct.
they're totally using it as a training tool, and they're using it to get people to fight who maybe normally wouldn't fight, right?
Yeah.
And it's been a tool for them for a long, long time.
Well, I'm Christian, and I have to say this: as Christians, we're supposed to, read the Old Testament, but we're not supposed to abide by everything said in the Old Testament. We're supposed to go by the New Testament. But the issue is,
It's still there, though.
it's still there. It's still written down, and if we really wanted to be just like them, we would.
That's what I was
Because
saying.
we'd
That's what I'm
follow
getting to.
the
We have
eye
a
for an eye,
justification.
tooth
That's
for
right.
a tooth, a limb for a limb. We'd follow that to the fucking letter, and they'd all be eyeless, toothless, and limbless.
But that was my whole point, is the Christian beliefs have literature in the Bible that would, should there want to be people out there to interpret the Old Testament as the true gospel.
There are
And
people who do that.
There
who
are,
take it
and
literally,
they can hide behind the Bible. So, like I said, every religion is going to have a sect that can hide behind religion.
They have far more than just a sect, though. We're not talking about a sect, one little group over here.
Right.
We're talking about millions. I'm not talking about all of them. I'm just talking about the hardcore.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of them.
It's becoming a way of life. It's no longer just a sect, but I mean, it's becoming a way of life where people are born, and from the first time they can remember, they have hatred and ill feelings towards the West. That's the way it is over there. That once again, you have to understand their mentality. We're taught and we are raised in America in general as a loving, open country.
And
a
to
very
respect
Christian country.
life in general.
That's just the way it is. They are evolving into a religion of basically an oppressed people. And that's how they're mentally thinking. So they're teaching the young that we are oppressed and the West is to blame. That's how they are doing that. And that's why it's growing so rapidly, is these kids don't know any different. They're told from the day they were born that they're oppressed because of the West. So how are they supposed to not have hatred towards us?
Have you ever seen pictures of Afghanistan or Iran or anything back in like the 60s and 70s? If you ever look at pictures of those places in the 60s or 70s, you would think you're looking at pictures of America in the 60s and 70s. The way that people are dressed, they're going to college, they're driving cars. I mean, and then look what Islam has done to those countries now. Look at the countries now. It literally set them back 1,000 years. Not even exaggerating.
It wasn't just Islam. There was this thing that happened in the 80s. I think it might have been part of some type of war. I can't remember what it's called. Oh, wait, yes, I can. It's called the Cold War. It's called the Soviet Union deciding, we're just going to go into these countries and take all their oil. That's what happened.
Mhm. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for our public service announcement. I was told to hold off for a little while tonight.
Please.
So, Dano, the show is yours, my friend.
Yes, thank you. Many of you have already heard, so if you have, just give me a minute and I'll be done. I'm working on a project for anybody who has any questions in regards to tactical response, the instructors there, James Yeager, the ranges themselves, what it's like in the team room, who might it be appropriate for, who might it not be appropriate for. What are some ways to save money if you're going to choose that route? Even if you have no intent on ever possibly going there, maybe they come to an area near you. Please, I'm going to post a link in the Gun Channel side. If you can click on that, that'll be a simple form. Just type in your question and hit submit. I appreciate it greatly. Ellis, if you could do me a favor and just copy that and post it over on YouTube, because I don't think I could put the link on the YouTube side.
Well, if you will put it in the side chat, I will be happy to do that.
All right, I will do that momentarily. And in the meantime, we'll be back to the regularly scheduled program. So thank you.
Well, I'm not sure how regular it is, but or scheduled for that matter. This is, just one of those things, guys.
Well, you told me to be here at Tuesday on time, so here I am.
And once again, I say that Dano deserves a round of applause because he did manage to get here on time and early, no less. So
yes,
we
at least I made it last time before the end of the show.
Hey, next week he might actually be here 15 or 20 minutes early. Who knows?
Oh my!
He might actually beat Ghost in. And that's rare. I just posted that link onto the Gun Channel side, and now I'm going to post it over here on the YouTube side, and that will all be squared away. And Ghost, I know you're fixing to have to leave, man. Is there anything you need to get out?
No. Tactical Tuesday Halloween edition starts at 7 Central, so we'll have a good time and all that jazz. But no, it's just one of those that September 11th was, it was my generation's Kennedy. There's no doubt about that. And, my biggest thing is I'd like to think that we have come a long ways as a country since then. And in some ways we haven't come anywhere at all. And I think that there are a lot of people that are always going to, I'll put it this way. The first time I flew was about a year after September 11th. And there was a Muslim guy getting on a plane. And there were people that literally refused to get on that plane, said, I'm taking a different flight. And I get that. Don't get me wrong. I understand that. But people understand that that's one of the reasons why they hate us also. Our arrogance as a country, and, for a country who continuously boasts we're the best country in the world, and I'm not saying we're not, but understand that we feed the fire too. Our arrogance as a country is one of the reasons why they all hate us. Yes, they hate us because they're jealous of everything that we have, but our arrogance does play into that. So just understand that as well, but there's nothing we can do. It doesn't help that we have an arrogant president now either, so that could be interesting. But thanks for having me, bro.
Hey, anytime, Ghost. You're more than welcome. And ladies and gentlemen, Ghost's show will start at 8 tonight. Hopefully, if he decides Eastern. Yeah, I know how to do this. Night Strike, I appreciate you.
Okay.
That's 2 hours from now.
Yeah. Well, it depends on where you're at, don't it? 8 o'clock? It's almost 7 here now. So, Eastern time, it's about an hour and 5 minutes. And then Tuesday nights, 9 o'clock, hit or miss. We cannot forget Night Strike. That's another
Tuesday nights, 9 o'clock. Tuesday nights, 9 o'clock.
That's another $5 you owe me, Night Strike. See, Ghost gets that. Ghost gets that for free. Your family, you got to pay.
Yeah, the check's in the mail.
Yeah.
Aren't I already giving you a heater?
Not that kind of heater, ladies and gentlemen.
No, a space heater.
Yeah, but that's neither here nor there.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Oh, while we're at it, while I'm thinking about it, Ghost, before you leave, what's going on in Arkansas with your 2A Capitol rally? What's going on there, man?
Well, we've got everything planned. we've secured the front steps of the Capitol building. They are giving us a podium and a microphone. At this point, it's going to be getting people there, and I've got. I mean, I don't even know. I mean, there's no telling how many emails that I've sent out there to different groups, different people, ranges, gun shops. And at this point now, it's just showing up, and there's not a whole lot more I can do except for just hope they show up. And if they don't, then I'll have a good time marching to the beat of my own drum. But I'm hoping there'll be a bunch of people show up.
Well, we hope for the best for you, brother. Good luck with that, and we thank you for all that you've done so far.
I haven't done anything, but yeah, appreciate it.
You're welcome, buddy. And I will see you in a little while.
Yep, guys. Appreciate you having me, and Dead Horse, and Jimmy, and Dano, and Jonas. I appreciate you guys, and it's been awesome. And I will see you guys in a little bit. Appreciate you.
Later, man.
And a little update from South Carolina, if anybody's interested. I'm pretty sure nobody's really interested.
I posted an update on Facebook just a little while ago. Did you get it?
Yeah, I did. As of today, I have been in contact with Palmetto State Armory. Still haven't heard anything back from them yet. I have contacted FN, which apparently has a operation center somewhere in
Columbia.
South Carolina. Yeah, Columbia, as a matter of fact, in South Carolina.
They've got a plant in Columbia.
And I talked to them. They said that it was too late or too quick for them to actually get a representative out to us to do any speaking, but they would let their employees know what's going on and try to get them to show up for some support. I'm going to try to get a hold of some senators, representatives, congressmen, and see what I can do on that front to get some speakers coming out. Night Strike, what have you done so far? What have you got taken care of?
I did send the form in, but apparently the representative in the South Carolina state government has decided to take the entire week off until Thursday. So I'm not too sure we're going to be able to get a permit.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah, they decided they're going to take all this week off. Very convenient.
Yeah, that is interesting. Well, I tell you what, we will find somewhere to do this. You know, they can fight it. Hey, find a megaphone. I can make some noise. Believe me.
Oh, I know you can.
Yeah.
People don't know that Ellis can't make noise. They don't know his family. Just saying.
Yeah. We used to communicate through yodeling. Trust me.
And then it was gunfire.
Well, that wasn't that wasn't communication. That was, just a very quick and poignant way to get your point across without saying a word.
Oh, is that what that was? I forget these things.
Yeah. And Clovertech has a show coming up scheduled 11 Eastern that may be changed for some reason or another. He's doing a lawn chair pop tonight, as far as I know. And reading, what is it you're reading tonight, Clover?
I believe he's reading The Telltale Heart.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, but I wasn't 100% sure. But Jimmy James, what you got going on, brother man? Anything?
Same old. Check out the early watch. It'll be on 9:30 Eastern, a.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday. Other than that, same old. Anybody that hasn't already, come on down to Gun Channels. That's it for me, brother.
We all live on Gun Channels. We love it there.
Yep.
Dead Horse, you the man. Or the Dead Horse.
What up?
What you got for us, buddy? You got anything to plug, pop, yell about, scream about?
Yeah, America's not bad, and we're not fucking evil, and we're not arrogant or ignorant, and people who cut the heads off children don't need a reason to hate us. They're just that type of people.
They're already hateful and angry.
So quit doing this whole, entitlement attitude. I hate myself. I hate America. Just stop that attitude. Like for real.
Go put a straitjacket on and admit yourself.
Well, here's my take on that. I think as Americans, we are arrogant, and it's because we've earned the right to be arrogant. We have stood up for every country in the world that's ever needed us to be there for. And because we do that, we are considered, the worst of the worst when it comes to the planet Earth. If there's a natural disaster in any country in the world, the United States is one of the first countries to jump up and say, here, we're coming to help. And then we get spit on by said country. What?
Yep.
We didn't do it. We didn't do enough. If that's the case, then we don't have to send you help. We don't have to send you humanitarian aid. We don't have to send you food or water. We can let your people die. But we're America. We don't do that. We give a shit. We help. Yeah.
If you want to let your own country go to fucking waste, and do it on your own time.
That's just my personal opinion on it, and people might get upset about that. I don't really care. You don't have to listen to me if you don't want to. I ain't twisting your arm, got a knife to your throat. You're gonna listen. You can walk away right now. It ain't gonna hurt my feelings one little bit.
All right, bye.
Yeah, you're a dick. Night Strike, what you got for us?
Well, we're gonna have hit or miss tonight. That's what we got.
Is it going to be a hit or a miss?
It's gonna be the 2-year anniversary.
It's that's not the question. Is it going to be a hit or a miss?
It's. I want to say it's gonna be a hit, but it may be a miss. But that's why I aptly named the show "Hit or Miss."
Okay, well, see, we're going to solve this the old-fashioned way. We're going to take a vote on your show. Will hit or miss be a hit or a miss tonight? Dano, what do you think?
Smeggy attends. I think it'll be a potential hit.
A potential hit. Jimmy?
See, I was going to say Smeggy shows up, it'll be a miss, but that's just my opinion.
Well, so far, you're splitting it down the middle there, Night Strike. How about you, Dead Horse?
Well, what's the show about tonight? Like,
Night Strike's on it. Does it matter what it's about?
Thanks, guys. Thanks. The confidence. Your confidence is overwhelming.
Well, considering it's Halloween, I'm hoping that they dressed up and we get to see them on camera in their costumes. So I'm hoping it's going to be a hit.
Yeah, that would make it a hit. That would definitely make it a hit.
I would definitely take a screenshot of Night Strike with a Y in his little princess outfit.
There for a second, I thought the blue dress was coming out again. I thought it was. He didn't go there though, Night Strike. You got to give him props.
No, he did go there because Dano was gonna say his blue princess dress.
Oh, well, he didn't say blue. He never said blue. He might let you
the princess dress poofs a little bit so you can carry your 1911 if you wanted to.
Well, at least it's not a Glock that I left on the dashboard. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, melted Glocks. You don't see that with steel guns.
No, you don't. It's not a thing.
It's one of those things. Okay, guys. I think that takes care of this, and no pun intended, but I think we've beat this horse to death. So we're going to call it a show, and I thank you all for showing up. Remember, Ghost has got a show tonight. Clover's coming up at 11 after Hit or Miss. So, and I will have a show coming up Tuesday with Biker Bob. That should be interesting.
You mean Thursday?
Oh yeah, Thursday. Thank you. See, this is why I have Dano. This is why I have Dano. Cause
And you
he's
wonder
the
why I
man.
get so confused on when you give me directions on what day and time I'm supposed to be here.
Hey, look, you're the sidekick. Your job is to make sure I don't screw these things up. And you do a good job. See, as long as I can keep you on time. As long as I
I
keep
will
you
make
on time,
sure
you
it
can
does
help
work
me.
once that first paycheck shows up.
Hey, the check's in the mail. Didn't you get it? I mailed that son bitch out a month ago, before the first show. If you didn't get it, you must call the post office, brother. That ain't my fault. Yeah, I promise I sent it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I let Night Strike even see it. I showed it to him.
Yep. It happened.
See, there you go. Call the post office. It's there. Okay, guys, y'all have a good night. Thanks for listening. I hope you got something out of it anyway. If you did like it, subscribe, and we'll see you Thursday.
America.